Hi everyone, I'm here with little baby Cozette. I got a shower today. She got a bath. She just ate, so this felt like a really good time to sit down and record my birth story. A few people have asked to hear it, and also I just want to record it so that I don't forget within the next, few months of motherhood. But yeah, to set the stage, I had a really easy pregnancy. Nothing went wrong. She was great. By 36 weeks, I was pretty much ready to not be pregnant anymore, and I was hoping she'd come a little early. And she did. She came 10 days early. We actually went into labor on Labor Day weekend. So that's how we spent the whole beautiful weekend off, was just in the hospital, but it was fine. We actually had our maternity photo shoot on the 31st, so Friday night, and she came immediately after. So we almost didn't have a maternity photo shoot. And Jace was supposed to go hiking on Saturday. So if she had come a few hours later, he literally could have missed her entire birth because it was so fast. So I labored for 4 hours. I woke up 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, September 1st, and I felt like my water had broken. I was like, did my water just break? And I went to the bathroom to check, and I was just bleeding quite a bit. So I thought, okay, maybe I just lost my mucus plug. That can accompany bleeding. And then I started having like some lower back pain. I'm like, oh, and normally, you can lose your mucus plug like 2 weeks early, because I was like 10 days early, and you'll have contractions like Braxton Hicks with it sometimes. So in my mind, I'm not in labor. But in my mind, I wasn't in labor. I was just having some kind of like pre-labor signs, which was good because I hadn't had any. So I was like bleeding still and kept bleeding, and then the pain in my lower back and like the pressure in my pelvis just like kept increasing, and I was having contractions that lasted like 30 seconds. And at the beginning, they were like every 7 to 10 minutes. And within the first hour, they were every 2 minutes. I would like go to the bathroom. I'd be bleeding. I'd like get cleaned up. I'd go lay down in bed and try to go to sleep. And then I'd get a contraction. And I'd be like, oh, like sitting up. And then like, I'm not going to go to sleep tonight. And then I'd be like trying to lay down again. And then up, and like up 2 minutes later, like this is impossible. And then I'd be back in the bathroom because I kept bleeding. I bled the whole 4 hours I was in labor. So after I bled for like an hour, hour and a half, and I've been saying this whole time, like, we'll call the doctor in the morning. It's fine. I don't want to like rush to the hospital tonight because this is probably nothing. So that was what I was saying. And Jason and I were both on our phones Googling everything to see if this was normal or not. And basically concluded, after everyone said you should probably call your doctor, that we should just call my doctor. So I gave her a call, left a message with the on-call doctor and said, hey, I'm bleeding a lot. What should I do? And so then she called me back and was kind of like, I don't know how much you're bleeding. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on. You should probably go to the hospital. So I was like, okay, fine. So at this point, it's like, almost 5 a.m. We got to the hospital at 5, and we lived 5 minutes from the hospital. So Jace had everything ready. We were all packed up, actually. So he got the car packed, helped me get dressed. I'm sitting on the bed with a pillow just like curled over while he was trying to pack the car up. By the time we got to the hospital, it's a 5-minute drive. I had 3 contractions on the way there, and I bled through an overnight pad and my shorts. So I was bleeding a lot, you guys, like so much blood, and was just trying to dismiss it. I don't know why. Literally, I walked in to the ER room. We like meandered through the hospital trying to find where we were supposed to be because it was like early morning and there was no one there. And finally, the ER lady, she saw us and she's like, are you having this baby? And I was like, oh, I don't know. The doctor said I should come in because I'm bleeding a lot. She knew I was in labor. So she's like grabbing all my paperwork because she's like, sign here, sign here, sign here. She's getting me a wheelchair. They're getting the room ready. And then by 5 a.m., I was like in that room ready to like go. And then they're getting me all set up. They're getting everything going. I don't know when they checked me because it was a while. It was probably like 5:30 to 6, somewhere in there when they finally checked me. And I was dilated to a 9. So it was going really fast. And when I first got there, the nurse was like, well, you're not in super active labor. And I was like, we're in somewhat active labor. Like, we're actually having this baby right now. So that was kind of fun moment for me to like come to terms with what was happening. But it made me feel really good because I labored at home by myself for 2 hours. And it wasn't that bad. Like, it was very uncomfortable and not fun, but I was able to do it. So then knowing that like I was that far along and it wasn't going to get that much worse, that was a really good feeling, because once you're dilated to a 9, you can't have any painkillers. So at this point, I was having this baby natural, whether I wanted to or not, which is what I had wanted. I wanted there to not be the choice because I knew that I would probably opt out and get some painkillers if I could. And by the time they checked me, I was ready for like some painkillers if I could. But I couldn't. So I did it all by myself, which was very empowering and actually helped a lot with the labor because I was able to I'm really in tune with my body normally. So just being able to feel everything and feel like what was going on and like know my body's signals and to respond to my body, it made the labor really easy because it's a natural thing. And if you're listening to your body's going to tell you what to do. And like everything that I did in response to like what I was feeling, the nurse was always like, yeah, that's exactly what you should be doing right now. And the nursing staff was incredible. They like were able to help me through everything. Like at one point I had some really bad lower back pain and the nurse just knew like exactly where to put her hand and apply some pressure and it like went away immediately and wasn't a problem. And I was like, what? You guys are incredible. So, I mean, I was in a pretty good mood the whole time. Toward the end, I was getting pretty tired. I started feeling the urge to push probably around, I want to say like 6:30, 6:40, somewhere in there. And the nurse, helped me push through one contraction and it felt so good because that's like the natural response. So it actually helps alleviate a lot of the pain you're feeling in the contraction when you can push. So I was like, this is great. I can push now. This is wonderful. And then she told me, okay, now I'm not going to have you push until the doctor gets here. And I was like, what? I have to not push? Which when you're feeling the urge to push and you have to not push, it's even worse than before. So that was the worst, like 10 minutes was waiting for the doctor to get there while I was trying to push or not push. It was awful. That was the worst of my whole labor, but it was only like 10 minutes and I got through it. But at that point I was ready. When the doctor walked in the door, I was like, can I push? And they're like, yes. And I started pushing. I was like, I want this baby out. So we pushed for about like 20 minutes. They did use the vacuum. I didn't know this at the time, but every time I was getting a contraction, once I felt the urge to push, the baby's heart rate was dropping. And I also was like still bleeding a lot, which is why they had me wait until the doctor got there. Because apparently I didn't find any of this out until that night when the nurse came back and told me what had happened. But when the egg attached inside my uterus, it attached really close to the cervix, which means that she almost wasn't. So she's kind of a miracle baby. But when that happened, the placenta then was like touching the cervix. So when I went into labor and the cervix started dilating, it was on the placenta. So I started bleeding. And then your body's like, it's bleeding, there's something wrong. So then it speeds up the process, which is why my labor was really fast and why I bled the whole time. But also it can be very dangerous for the baby. And they might have had to do an emergency C-section. I didn't know any of this at the time. Like I was just like doing my thing, but they didn't tell me any of this. But Jace could see like her heart rate dropping. So he knew like, we want to get this done fast. But yeah, so once I started pushing, they got her in there. They actually had the vacuum, and they used the vacuum to help push her out. And they gave me an episiotomy too, because normally you can push through and stretch it out each contraction, but they didn't want to risk it. They didn't want to risk the baby, which was totally fine. And I actually didn't even feel it. That was the one thing I was the most scared of, was getting the episiotomy, and I didn't even feel it. So that was cool. I didn't even know that it had happened until afterward when she's like, oh, now we're going to stitch you up. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I didn't even feel that happen. So, yeah. So anyways, I pushed for like 20 minutes. She came out. She wasn't crying right at first, so they took her over to do tests and stuff, especially since it had been a little bit traumatic for her. So they made sure she was okay and then got me all stitched up. And then we got to chill there with the baby for like an hour. And it was just so beautiful to be with her. And then we got moved to the recovery room and we got to stay in the hospital for 2 days, which was wonderful because the staff there was incredible, helped so much with us establishing our nursing. There was a couple different lactation consultants that like spent a lot of time with us, and everyone just checked in a lot, made sure we were okay. I was able to get a little bit of painkillers in my system after the fact. But oddly enough, the thing that hurt the most was my arms from pulling myself up when I was pushing. I didn't expect that at all. So next pregnancy, I'm definitely going to keep on working my biceps out because it felt like I had tried to deadlift 1,000 pounds the day before. Like it hurt so bad. They were so sore. But everything else, like they have such great stuff at the hospital to help you recover. And I bled so much that I didn't really bleed that long after just because I think I lost so much of the blood that I was already going to lose. So yeah, we're recovering really well. She's doing great. We are happy that she was healthy. She was born at 6 pounds, 11 and a half ounces, and she was 19 inches long. And yeah, she's just a perfect little baby. Here she is. She's so easy. She sleeps so well. She eats so well. We've got a little bit of a routine going now, so I'm very proud of her. And it's been a wonderful adventure entering into motherhood. And I'm just really grateful for the Lord's hand on both of us during that whole process and keeping us from anything that would have been like harder on us and hard to recover from. And I'm really grateful that she was okay. And it's funny how like in the moment nothing mattered except like making sure baby was okay and getting her out and just taking care of her. So it went really well. I'm very proud of both of us. It was like the craziest thing. I didn't think I could do it, and I did. So God designed some cool things when he designed the human body. But that's basically it. So yeah, stay tuned for more updates about Cozette as she grows.